Does life feel boring recently? Dull? Bland? Does it feel like it just lacks flavor? Important caveat here. By life, I don't mean the world in general. No, no, no. The world is becoming quite eventful. Too eventful for our own mental peace. I mean your day-to-day life. I believe that just the fact that we use the phrase day-to-day to denote something not particularly interesting is proof enough that some of us feel a bit too bored. I think that the reason why we don't feel particularly excited or enthusiastic about our day-to-day life is because it doesn't feel special. It doesn't feel unique. Think about it. Almost all the stuff we find to be cool happens rarely. Christmas only comes around once a year. Parachuting. People only do that once or twice in their life. Why do we not feel special anymore? You might be quick to say, well, it's pretty hard to feel special in a world filled with over 8 billion people, to which I would say, you're close, but not quite there yet. After all, there's always been a lot of people. 800 million or 8 billion, it doesn't really matter since we cannot comprehend numbers as large as these. That's why we have words like a gazillion to just say a lot. So what changed exactly? I don't think it's the total number of people exactly that matters, but the number of people we're exposed to on a daily basis. Think about it. A lot of us go to work every day in a small cubicle next to the cubicles of many other people who do similar stuff to us, in a large office building next to other large office buildings filled with cubicles with people who do similar stuff to us. You want to relax? You go to see a match on the stadium, and it's filled with people wearing the same jerseys, shouting the same slogans. Of course we don't feel special. And feeling special is important. It's very important. The basket of things that makes us feel special is called identity. Because the thing that makes me be me cannot be the same thing that makes you be you, or the same thing that makes him be him, or I'd be you, you'd be him, and he'd be me, and we'd all be the same person. Not individuals. Not so long ago, the world used to be more rural, more dispersed, and communities used to be tighter and smaller. Everyone had his own special role in the village. You were the teacher or the priest, not just a teacher or a priest. Even if you weren't high class, maybe you were the guy who owned the big cherry tree that everybody stole from when summer came, or maybe you just were the only guy working in the capital that brought the latest political gossip whenever he came back to the village. Now we feel replaceable, unimportant, as if our very self is slipping away like a water drop to the cracks in a large ocean of nothingness. So what do you do when you live in a very big community and feel like a very, very small cog, replaceable cog in a large machine? When you don't feel like you're an the, but rather an a. When you don't feel like you're an individual. When you don't feel you have an identity. Well, a lot of us try to differentiate ourselves through niche interests. We learn a weird, faraway language. We watch unknown films from 50 years ago and become the cinema guy in our social group. We listen to underrated bands, and when they eventually become popular, we make sure to let everybody know that we used to listen to it before it was cool, to remind them that we are special. Others resort to different techniques. They use the modern world's greatest tool, the internet. Being social creatures, it was expected that this would happen, since being special was all about being seen as special. And social media offers us the chance to be seen by as many people as possible, so it is up to us to seem special to those people. And so people post photos and updates online that sometimes aren't really accurate in order to feel meaningful, at least in the digital realm. Their relationship is starting to struggle. They have fights very often, and yet they post photos of them being happily together online. Sound familiar? Something about their identity, because yes, after a while, long-term relationships start to be tied up to your identity. Something about their identity is slowly fading away, so they dissociate and they create a pseudo-identity online where that thing is still very much functional. sometimes they even force their real-life identity to conform to the online one. They go to vacations together, despite being unhappy in doing so, in order to post that online. You may not be convinced that this phenomenon of prioritizing one's image online over the real-life self comes from a lack of identity, so I'll give you a more extreme example. You may not be aware, but there are some people who, after coming back from a long day's work or from university, they log on a Discord server, dissociate from their normal self, and channel their alter ego to role play. Yes, the internet is filled with micro-communities, from clans in Clash of Clans, where people amply debate who should be clan leader or whom to raid next, to Discord servers whose entire purpose is for people to behave like fictional versions of themselves. You might doubt how serious this is, but as a person that, when younger, has been on such servers, I can tell you, it is very serious. These people spend hours daily arguing about what special perms they should have, about what policy to implement, and each has its own special title. These servers have their own constitutions, their own laws, their own courts, their own elections with campaigning and all. It's an entire separate world where they feel special, where they have a better identity. Because the real one just didn't make them feel special enough. I have chosen to talk about a more extreme example of virtual identity, but one where people completely dissociate from their normal self into something entirely different. But it is not the virtual identity itself that interests me as much as the reason why it happens. The feeling that they didn't have a real life identity in the first place. I think this is a small tragedy. So, what to do? Maybe the next time you talk to your coworkers, ask them what's that special something they feel like they add to their field. Ask them about their life and be specific about it. Less, how is it going? And more, how's learning to play the guitar been going? Make sure you let your parents know how important they were and still are for you in ways that only they can fulfill. People need a place to let their inner self out. They desperately do. 1 in 4 people feel they have no one in the world to confide to. Compliment people in ways that you cannot compliment anybody else. You're kind, you're smart, you're funny, are all nice things to hear, but you always make the best workplace. You always ask me questions when I feel unlistened to, or you always notice things that everybody else misses. Well, that makes people feel like they add a special something to the world. That makes them feel special. Add specificity, and not only will you help other people feel better, but I promise you, you will gain devoted friends. Because by noticing a special something about them, they will forever associate that part with you. Thank you.